Happy Friday, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day so far. I wanted to pop in and go live before, sorry, I've got a zit on my nose, it's really distracting. I wanted to pop in before I head out to my daughter's field day. So I am actually going to be curling my hair while I do this. Let's see if I can multitask. But I wanted to stop in today to talk about retirement for women, kind of what the industry gets wrong and what you can do instead. If you are new on my page, I'm Molly Nelson. I'm a certified financial planner, and I have been in the financial services industry since 2006. I started Money Sense with Molly because I sort of got disillusioned with the financial industry as it was, where it was a constant hustle to just look for more money to manage and kind of try to build this big book and get as many assets under management as you possibly could. And I think in that hustle, that is sort of the industry now. The actual education, especially for women, just gets overlooked. I think that there are lots of advisors out in the field now, and there are not, they are charging something that I don't think people really need to be paying, because there's a lot of advisors, and I don't think there's enough people that have a justifiable financial situation that actually justifies those advisors and how they charge. So my job and my goal here is to help women learn about their finances, so they can, not rely on anybody else to take care of their retirement, take care of their later years for them. So today, let's dive into it. I'm going to make this hopefully quick, maybe 10 or 15 minutes. The first thing, I do have to curl my hair though. The first thing that I wanted to talk about is kind of what the industry gets wrong with women. So I think a lot of times when people are traditionally meeting with financial advisors, there's kind of this one size fits all timeline myth, right? Like we all know that women often have gaps in their saving period, right? Because either they are out of work for a little while with children of their own, maybe they're out of work to help caregive parents. The reality is that they end up having lower lifetime earnings. So I think it's important. The industry really assumes that there's always going to be this like consistent income stream for women, and that's not always the case, right? They originally say, hey, start saving 10 to 15% at age 25 and all the way through age 65, and it's like, well, that just isn't always accurate for women. So that's definitely something that isn't designed for women in the current situation that the financial industry is. They also tend to ignore the longevity factor, right? I mean, the reality is, especially nowadays, more and more women live longer than men, and they tend to need more money. But because of this gap in our working years, they often have less saved. And then, healthcare costs can disproportionately affect women because of this age requirement. The one thing that's really important, I think, to talk about is the fact that in a married couple, usually, not always obviously, but statistically, it makes more sense that the man is probably going to pass away first. And when you have things like long-term care insurance, you want to make sure that they're going to assume, oh, well, the wife will care for him, right? She'll be the caretaker. Well, what if he passes away and then the wife is left over? It's like we need to make sure she's got something taking care of her as well. So that's where long-term care insurance policies can come into play and be helpful for women. But we've talked about, this one-size-fits-all timeline myth. We've talked about ignoring kind of the fact that women live longer, frankly. They also, I think the industry is really wrapped around kind of let someone else handle it. And they create the industry such that it's really built for, kind of the man to take care of it. The industry kind of profits when women feel overwhelmed, because statistically, women are actually better investors. They actually do better at investing. And I think that if a woman is comfortable in a situation, she's going to ask really good and often probing questions. So it's not necessarily in a financial advisor's, best interest to be very clear with their education, because they might get pushed back. They might get pushed back from the woman. And I think that's pretty common in the industry. I managed a book of business for 18 years. And would just in observation of other advisors throughout that time, I would see this come up pretty regularly, where they would kind of downplay things, gloss over information, hopefully that nobody was going to kind of circle back on it. But the statistic really is that like almost 90% of women will at some point manage money alone, right? So we need to make sure we're getting education in the hands of women. And it's really important that you not delegate your own understanding of your retirement. This is kind of aligned. As I just mentioned, I think that in the industry, women's financial capability gets really underestimated. I just mentioned women statistically are better investors, but the industry can treat them like they need simplified advice and maybe dumb it down, when really they should be trying to empower you. So I do think there's kind of a push-pull dynamic there. But what can you do instead? I mean, I talked a bit about some of where the industry goes wrong and some of the challenges that the industry has related to women and how they approach women. But what can you do instead to kind of get yourself set up for the future? So if you are one of those people who is going to be dealing with one of those gaps in your earning years, you want to make sure that you are calculating your retirement income based off of your own timeline and your own accurate earning years. You want to factor in those caregiving years. You want to factor in the potential income gap. So if an advisor is sitting here telling you, oh, you're on track, just keep saving like you are, XYZ, and everything will be fine, you need to make sure that you're saying, well, right, but there's this 5-year period of time where I might be out of the field. What is that going to do for my future? How is that going to affect things? And making sure that, it might seem obvious, but making sure you're bringing up like, well, does this graph actually show that there's going to be this break, right, where I'm not going to have this income? Don't let perfect be the enemy of progress. I love my notes. I'm looking at my notes here. It's important that even though you might have these gaps in your working years, you need to still do something, right? So if you are out of the workforce and you are married, maybe you are caregiving for children or parents, you can still contribute to a spousal IRA. So make sure that that is happening. If you are a person that is out of the workforce and you don't have like a W-2 income, make sure that your spouse is contributing to a spousal IRA for you through their earned income that they have. You want to make sure that you are planning for longevity from the get-go, from the jump. Thinking about long-term care, that is a huge thing that people really don't think about that much, and it absolutely disproportionately affects women because men usually do have a woman there to take care of them. So you want to make sure you're taking into account long-term care costs when you're thinking about what you're going to need in retirement. Healthcare obviously is more expensive in retirement. One thing that's an important thing and is helpful is that you can save into, if you're eligible to have a health savings account, which means you have a high deductible health plan, you can save into an HSA, health savings account, and those contributions are tax deferred, they grow tax free, and the withdrawals are tax free as long as they're used for health. So even in younger years, if you have eligibility for an HSA, probably a great idea to try to get money in there and not spend all of it, right? Because if you can build that account up and just kind of view it as, if you have to get into it, of course, that's what they're for. But if you can continue to let an account like that grow, that really could be helpful for you in retirement for your own medical costs. With retirement, I just lost my train of thought. HSAs. Make sure if you have an HSA, this is what I was going to say. If you have an HSA, make sure that you are, if you have the ability, make sure you're investing it, right? Some people have HSAs and they just let it sit in cash. That is pretty tough when that's a tough pill to swallow when you realize that you could have been investing it. So if you have an HSA and we're thinking about trying to use that for retirement as much as possible, make sure that if you have investment options available that you do get that invested. And the way that you'd figure that out is, you could ask your employer HR department, are there investment opportunities for us to get these HSA dollars invested? All right, so we're planning for longevity. We're thinking about your own retirement and some of the income, chunks of time that you might not be earning income. You also need to really think about your own financial education. So making sure you're not leaving this information up to someone else. You're not leaving it up to someone else to just take care of it for you, right? You need to understand your investments. Don't just delegate it out. You need to know where everything is and how to access it. And you don't need to become an expert, but you do need to be informed. So that is probably my absolute biggest message. I mean, obviously I've been doing this for many, many years. And so a lot of these topics are just like second nature for me, but it is not rocket science, ladies. Like you just need a little more education and you absolutely will be able to take control of things for yourselves. There's a couple of resources I have. I actually have a membership I haven't talked about recently, where I do live Q&A calls. And so a lot of my educational resources that I have built and am continuing to build are in the membership. So if you were interested in that, you could comment the word join below to get information about that. There's no time commitment. You could cancel it at any point. But that is an opportunity for you to get education from an actual real advisor. I'm still licensed. Obviously, I can't give you individual investment advice because I don't know your specific individual situation, but I have the credentials. I actually have the background. I'm not just a financial influencer who's like paid off debt and now I want to teach everybody how to do it. Like I've been in the industry for many years. So you have the capability. You absolutely can learn this stuff and get yourself set up for success. So don't delegate your future away. Take control and get the resources that you need. And that's what I'm trying to do with Money Sense, is get you the information that you need. So if you're interested in joining the membership, you can comment the word join and you'll get sent information about that. Additionally, if you just want information about investing, you can comment the word invest and that will get sent to you as well. So the last thing I will say is you want to build your financial foundation first and make sure that as we're starting to learn everything, make sure that you know what you have and where it is. And the best resource I have is my Clarity Calculator. I will hop back in a sec.